Some experts claim that Russian dictator Putin is refusing any negotiations in order to carry out some kind of summer offensive. In fact, this offensive has been going on since 2024, and although Russian generals have already reported to Putin that by the end of the summer, all the goals of the so-called SVO will be achieved, this is unlikely to happen. This was emphasized on the air of the Freedom TV channel by the head of military programs of the Center for Globalistics Strategy 21, Pavel Lakiychuk. As for the Russians' summer offensive, the thing is that sometimes observers interpret terminology a little freely. What is meant is obviously summer as a period of more active actions in the strategic offensive operation that the enemy is currently implementing. Each season has its own characteristics for conducting military operations: winter, summer, autumn. Each season has its advantages and disadvantages. Yes, it is easier to attack in the summer, Lakiychuk noted. According to him, in addition to this, the enemy's forces also play an important role. These are reserves, human and material resources necessary to continue the offensive. At the moment, the enemy does not have the resources to conduct a new offensive operation. That's why he continues the offensive operation that is being carried out in the Donetsk direction. I mean the broad front in the Donetsk region, starting from Chasov Yar, Toretsk, Pokrovsk, south of Pokrovsk and the Liman direction. These are all components of one operation. Enormous resources are being spent on them, both human and material, the guest of the broadcast said. He added the Russian military leadership is unlikely to be able to implement all the plans set before it. Of course, they can try, but again, where to get additional material resources for this? In addition, the Russian military leadership has already reported to the Kremlin dictator that the Russian army managed to make a turning point on the battlefield last summer. Now Putin expects that in 2025 his army will maintain success and end the war by achieving the goal of the so-called SVO. His generals are afraid to report to him that everything is not going according to plan. They are even more afraid of Putin than they are of the Ukrainians, said the head of the military programs at the Center for Globalistics Strategy 21.
Satellite images have revealed that Russia is engaged in military build-up near its border with NATO member Finland, Swedish SVT Nyheter news site reported. According to the report, Russia is setting up troop camps, building vehicle warehouses and opening and refurbishing airbases just miles from the border with Finland. In addition, Russia's military build-up was observed at Olynia Air Base, from where Ukrainian sources say Russia flies strategic bombers used in attacks on Ukraine. Russia has been expanding its military infrastructure near the Finnish border after Finland joined the NATO in April 2023, abandoning its neutrality in the face of Ukraine's invasion by Kremlin. In response to NATO's expansion, Russia started re-establishing Leningrad Military District Command near Finland in December 2023. Moreover, since the turn of the year, 150 military tents, with a capacity of housing 2,000 personnel were set up at Kamenka, which is located just 55 kilometers from Finland. In another move to expand its military presence near Finnish border, Russia built 3 large storage warehouses that are believed to be suitable for roughly 50 armored vehicles, in Petrozavodsk, around 160 kilometers. Russia has also reactivated its Severomorsk 2 airfield, with helicopters now parked along the runway. Finland's Deputy Chief of Defense Lieutenant General Vesa Virtane believes that Russia's ultimate goal is to station 5 divisions, an army corps and support units adjacent to the border. It should be noted that in March 2024, Russia threatened to implement a military technical response after Sweden was also granted a NATO membership.
Due to Ukraine's advantage in drones and the achievement of maneuver in modern ground warfare, the Russian Ministry of Defense decided to develop a new doctrine for civilian transport. Ukrainian military correspondent Konstantin Mashovets stated that the Russian military command has developed standards for equipping forward units with motorcycles, all-terrain vehicles and buggies of both Chinese and Russian manufacture. Each battalion must receive up to 30 motorcycles, up to 20 all-terrain vehicles and up to 6 buggies. A platoon receives up to 9 motorcycles, 20 all-terrain vehicles and 6 buggies. Assault companies receive up to 15 motorcycles, up to 20 all-terrain vehicles and up to 3 buggies. According to Mashovets, the 3rd Combined Arms Army was armed with up to 1,125 motorcycles, 975 ATVs and up to 215 buggies. Russian forces currently appear to be using motorcycles in tandem with armoured vehicles, although Russian units may begin to conduct motorcycle-only attacks in the future. Mashovets said Russian units currently prefer to use motorcycles in tandem with infantry and armoured vehicles. It is possible that Putin's army is currently going through a transition period in order to fully switch to civilian transport during attacks on Ukrainian armed forces positions in the future. At the same time, the enemy can continue to carry out combined attacks using armoured vehicles. At the same time, according to Mashovets, Putin's army still relies on volunteers who get them motorcycles. ISW analysts are also confident that in the future, the enemy will completely switch to motorcycles due to the large number of drones on the front line. The Ukrainian military calls the motorbike assaults banzai attacks. One Ukrainian commander, Andriy Otchenash, said earlier this month that the motorcycles are designed for a quick blitzkrieg. They can advance very quickly, get behind the lines. He said, but losses on the Russian side were very high. It indicates that the enemy does not have a large amount of military offensive equipment, but on the other hand, it is an adaptation to the conditions of war, said the Ukrainian Center for Strategic Communication. Russian forces have used motorbikes and quads in several areas of the front lines in an effort to evade Ukrainian drones for more than a year. But the Institute for the Study of War in Washington says the latest Russian video indicates that the Russian military is likely developing a tactical doctrine for systematic offensive motorcycle usage and may be preparing to issue an increased number of motorcycles. The Russian military is planning to increase the use of small squads on motorcycles and quad bikes on the front lines in Ukraine as it plans fresh offensives, according to the Ukrainian military and the analysts of the conflict.